Are we on? Are we on? Welcome to Basketball Heads Live. I'm your host, Glenn Pooh Harding. And oh boy, tonight we have a very, very special guest. This basketball head was a first-team All-City player from Paul Robeson High School and coached by legendary coach and my guy, rest in peace, Larry Major. His team consisted of 12 Division I players and 2 city championships over a 2-year span when his basketball head played. With one of the biggest teams in the city, teams would be forced to pick their poison, getting dunked on or trying to defend his three-point shot because of his deadly range. This basketball head was raised by his grandmother in the Brownsville section of Brooklyn, where some of the best players in New York City came from. I remember meeting this young man when he was only in 8th grade and knew he was destined for greatness. I just knew whoever was raising him did one hell of a job, so salute to grandma. After high school, he would garner numerous interests from colleges all over the country, but chose to accept a scholarship from Syracuse University under another legendary head coach, Jim Boeheim, who also coached another Brownsville native and New York City icon, Dwayne Pearl Washington. Now in Syracuse, this basketball head was a backup as a freshman at both point guard and shooting guard, but would become second on the team in three-pointers as a sophomore. As a junior, he moved to point guard because Syracuse was loaded at the shooting guard with Tony Bland, Preston Shumpert, and DeSean Williams. But as a senior, oh boy, he had a breakout season. He would become a starting point guard, averaging 10.3 points a game and 7 assists at the highest level of college basketball. On February 27th, 2001, he had a triple-double, 14 points, 11 assists, and 10 rebounds against the University of Pittsburgh. And then he came home to Madison Square Garden, where he poured in a scorching 31 points against rival St. John's, proving that the hometown hero was still the real deal. After graduation, this basketball head would play in the USBL, the NBDL, and in Europe. Once his playing days was over, he became assistant coach at St. Francis in Brooklyn, then moved on to Providence College and Dayton University. And in 2017, he returned home to his alma mater as an assistant coach to his legendary coach at the Syracuse University to help keep that Orangemen pride alive. So, without further ado, help me welcome to the show Paul Robeson High School and Syracuse University great, Alan Griffin.
Y'all ready?
Y'all ready?
Yes. You have just stepped out into the world of chaos. Where everybody goes hard. Come on. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Or go home. Never back down. You gotta hold your own. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. East Coast. Go hard. West Coast. Go hard. Midwest. Go hard. Dirty. Hurry up, everybody. Get online, buy your tickets, cause the game about to start.
What's happening, man? What's happening?
What's up, Pooh? How you doing, man?
Oh, man, I'm doing great, my brother. I'm doing great, man. Blessed and highly favored, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Listen, man, it's been a long time coming since we last spoke to each other, man. But like I was telling you earlier, man, I am so proud of you, brother. And I'm not just saying this because you're on here. It goes way back to when you was in 8th grade, watched you in 21 Park, work on your game and seeing you at different places. You always shook my hand firm and you always had an open ear. You wasn't like a lot of the young men who thought too much of themselves. You always had a chance. You always took opportunity to give the older guys a chance to drop some jewels in you. And that's one thing I always remembered about you, and that's what stuck with me about you, brother.
Yeah, Pooh, you know what? The crazy thing about that is one, I wasn't where I wanted to be. So whoever can drop a jewel to get me better at that particular moment, I was for it, and sometimes a jewel can come from anybody. You don't know at that time, so that was my thing. My grandmother did a great job of making sure that I respect, everybody, not just people that got it all. Respect everybody. A janitor in my junior high school. Anybody. But then I had an uncle who used to take me to the park right off Atlantic Ave. What's the park?
Kingston Park.
Kingston Park, and I used to play with the old heads on Saturday mornings at 8:00. And the one thing I learned from them is to respect the game, and what comes with the game. And the better you get at the game, the more responsibility you have to the game. Like, you know what I mean? So that's that always stuck with me, and that's why I was, that's who I was,
Listen, we used to always hear it in like the cartoons, right? Right? With great power comes great responsibility.
Of course.
And as a basketball player, we were kind of the superheroes of the neighborhood.
Of course.
You know, we could either take it and get a big head and get lost in the sauce and never make our goals or accomplish them, or we could be humble and it'll take us, to many different places.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm always a humble dude. Like, you know what? I want everybody to eat. I want everybody to have success. I pray for, when I pray for everybody. I don't just pray for myself or my family members. I pray for everybody that I've come across ever in my life, and make sure that and hope that they're having as much success as possible. Or if they're going through some things, they have the strength to get through them. Like, you know what I mean? So
that's right.
That's just been my mentality. That's always been my mentality, and that's been my fate.
That's good, brother. So I want to jump right into this, man. Who introduced you to the game?
Wow. So it's crazy. It was a kid around my block in Brownsville by the name of, his name was Andre Lewis, right? They called him Pup though. Like a pup, and they called him Pup. You remember the Low Lives?
Yes, yeah. Oh, for sure.
Low Lives back in the day. So Pup, he was probably the best young guy in our neighborhood, but he was always into the streets. So he used to play for the Broncos.
Go Broncos! That's right. I'm a Bronco head for life. Rest in peace to Doc Naselli.
Doc. So he was the first one. Took me on the 4 train and transferred. I forgot how he got there, but we got on the train. I literally got on the train with $5 that my grandmother could afford at that time. And me and Pup, we went up to the Broncos, and I watched him in this practice go at it. And I used to play a little street ball here and there. I used to dabble in everything. And after I left there that one time, I was like, man, I want to hoop. It drew my interest, because at that time I was a baseball guy, Pooh. Like I played baseball coming up, and when I knew, like, I was like, yo, if I want to be somebody, because I looked up to this guy Andre Lewis named Pup, I was like, yo, I got to be better than him. I want to be better than him, and it was going to take a lot. So and I just worked on my game, and then my uncle introduced me to how to play the game.
Got you.
Use screens, how to play defense, take pride in defense, take pride in what I do every day on the court. And those were the two guys that was very influential in terms of, me playing basketball.
That's very interesting, man, because, a lot of guys come on here and talk about playing other sports. I started in baseball. I went to Lincoln to play football, but then made the varsity team and quit football, right? it's crazy how life works, man.
Right, definitely.
Yeah. So how important was your grandmother to you? Because I always thought to myself, and I said this before, when I met you in 8th grade, whoever was raising you, they did a great job because you were such an awesome kid with a lot of respect for yourself and elders, man. So how important was grandmom's during your early years of your life?
Yeah, grandma was very important and very influential in terms of, my upbringing. The one thing that I did know at that time, it was, because I lost my mom when I was in 1st grade,
Gotcha.
and my dad, he was
in peace.
Yeah, he was around, but he wasn't around, but he was there when he could be, and then, I don't hold that against him.
Gotcha.
But I was happy that I had a grandmother who took interest in raising, me and my 3 sisters. My grandmother, especially with me, she would be extra tough because she knew how, the hood was during those times with young black men. We could have got caught up, and she, I couldn't be off the stoop past the dark. Once the light go down, if I ain't on the stoop, she coming out in a house coat looking for me, and she was very strict with me, but she gave me my rope as well, and she just installed in me a lot of values. And the most important thing that she installed in me is that I can be anything that I want to be as long as I put the effort and not quit when it gets hard. When it gets hard, I got to go harder. And that was her, and that was her philosophy in raising us, because it wasn't easy for her at her age raising another set of kids, outside of her, her 6 kids that she had. So, and I'll be honest with you, Pooh, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be talking to you right now, and I wouldn't have had the success that I had, because you never know. I didn't know what was next, especially after my mom passed.
Yeah, brother. Listen, and again, me on the outside looking in, I had no idea all this was going on in your life. I'm just, meeting the kid who I think was going to have a good future. And every time I would leave you, I would say to myself, man, this kid is one of the good ones. He's going to do well in life, and I was thinking far beyond basketball. I knew you was going to be a good basketball player. But I said, whatever he do in life, he's going to be very successful, man. And look, see how things turn out?
Yeah, appreciate that, man.
No doubt, man. So, again, salute to grandmas, man, for sure. Yeah. So, you started to take the game seriously at, like, what age?
Wow. 8th grade. Like, I really, like, going up through junior high school, I was a very good player. Probably one of the best 8th graders in the country at that time, especially when I was in 8th grade. And I started to really take it serious then. I started to see a lot of change in my body and who I was. Like I went from a scrawny kid to, I grew to 6'1" at that time, and I was considered a big guard, and I really took off. And I was going on I was playing in junior high school. I was averaging like 40. No lie, And
what junior high school did you go to?
I went to 263, right? Right in the heart of Brownsville. Right.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Brownsville projects in Van Dyke. So, yeah, I went to 263, and I just, what's crazy was my gym teacher was oh my God, how am I gonna forget it? Ray Haskin.
The legendary coach. Look at that. Wow.
Yeah, Ray was my gym teacher. And, out of everybody that I came across, especially when I started to really play well, and this, that, and the third, and everybody was kissing my, what? Ray was always the one that wasn't very impressed. And I used to be like, why is this impressed? Not knowing his back.
That's right.
Knowing the players that he's coached, been a part of their lives.
Yeah.
And pros, so it's one time he kind of pulled me to the side. I'll never forget, I'm coming out of the bathroom, and he kind of pulled me to the side, and he said something to me. He was like, you could be a very good player one day. And I'm like, shit, I think I'm a good player now, you know, and it stuck with me, and that was the beginning of our friendship and our relationship. You know, when we start to talk about high school, I'll tell you another story when Ray kind of reinvented, it's like, you know, kind of came back into my life. And yeah, Ray, yeah, and that stuck with me. So every time I saw Ray, I don't care if it was gym, I don't care if it was a game, I was like, yo, man, I'm going hard because this dude don't think that I'm good enough, right? So, and that was it, though. You know, like, dudes would be in gym, like, yo, why you going so hard? I'm like, nah, man. You know, it was just one of those, you know, things where, you know, I always took a challenge, you know, and I took it seriously. So, but yeah, that was it, you know, junior high school days.
Wow, wow. I just know when I was watching you early on, I would say to myself, oh, this kid is different because he can shoot. Because you know the knock on New York City guards, right? They said we can't shoot, right? So I was like, okay, now he can go to the hole, he can put on the floor, but he can shoot. And that's one of the things that stuck out watching you because of, listen, I'm going through that with my little cousin right now. If he gets a jump shot, he's going to be unstoppable. Right. He has a nice one now, but once he get it like, you know, how yourself and myself are shooting that thing, he's going to be unstoppable. But your jump shot was something that I was very impressed with at young. And the fact that you was averaging 40 points, who knew? Right. I know you was doing some work somewhere, right, but to see it live in action, I saw it kind of transpire in high school and you take off then. But wow, 40 points in high school, you was really on your way. So
junior high school was like my, you know, it was like especially my 8th grade year was like my coming out party. Because then I started to get recruited by like a lot of local high schools in the area, you know, like all the Catholic schools, you know, all the public schools. Yeah, I wasn't going out to Lincoln. That was a little too far.
Listen, I know they had to try to get you one way or another, right?
But at that time, they were loaded too at the same time. So it was one of those things where, you know, I was one of those guys that like I never wanted to join with the smoke. Like I always wanted to play against the smoke. I always wanted to like compete against the best. Like it's crazy. I had an opportunity in high school to play with the super soft team at Riverside Church with Lamar, Eric Barkley. I went to the first tryout to that. And I left there with my uncle and I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. You know, maybe it hurt my career, maybe it didn't. I don't know. But I was like, yo, I want to play against those guys. Like I don't want to play with those guys. I want to play against those guys. And that was one of the reasons why I didn't go there. So again, like I just never ran from the smoke. I always wanted it.
I tell guys this all the time. Like this is why you was cut from a different era, right? There's just that era was just like, you know, you wanted to play against the best. You didn't want to play with the best. You know, even though my guy Chuck is on here, he's the uncle to Phil Grant. And he was like, he should have been a rail splinter, you know, because we over the weekend. Look, but I know that Coach Majors had a grip on everybody from this side.
Right.
You know, God bless his soul. And if he was still around, God knows the lineage that Robeson would have had. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
But for him to be able to snatch you up where all of those schools want you. Now, Robeson wasn't a slouch either.
Right. No. So think about it. Shout out to Chuck. You know, that's my
yeah.
Like, you know, Phil Grant family is like my family. So that's like my cousin, my uncle from another family, you know?
Right.
But you know, when Mage came to my house when I was in 8th grade, when I finished up 8th grade, the summer of my 8th grade, you know, Mage brung a 6-pack of Corona. If you know Mage loved Corona, right?
Right.
Or it was like a mix. Like I forget. I don't know if it was a 6-pack of Corona. Maybe Corona. It was a 6-pack of beer. Maze loved beer. Like, you know what I mean. And Maze sat out front of my door. He had the Acura. I don't even know the whatever car it was. He sat there, put the beer on the hood, and not hit it off with my whole family. Because during the summertime, my whole family would sit outside the stoop and hang out. And Mage would be there for hours, during the process of trying to get me. And he just made it comfortable for me. But also too, I knew that they had Todd Miles in the fold. I know they had Mel Jones. I know they had Jamil Watkins. They had a kid named George Bullock that was there, who I grew up named Chicken from the start. So, it was all these guys there that was going there, and I knew that I could be a part of something really special. Mage, he envisioned that. He made that a vision for me moving forward. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna take this opportunity. And the one thing that I wasn't gonna go to no school if I wasn't starting as a freshman. I knew that was, I went to LaSalle. I took the test at LaSalle, and they basically said, we'll start you on JV and move you up. I was like, that's not happening. I went to Laughlin. Laughlin had a good team, and Laughlin was, they were talking about starting me on JV, and then, by the end of the year, moving up that. And then once I saw that trend in the Catholic League, I was like, nah, I ain't doing that. And I don't want to do that. And Mage was one of the guys that believed in me from the beginning. And part of Mage's belief, Mage saw me work out with a guy named Ziggy.
Oh yes. Yeah.
And Zig, we put this workout together, and Mage came and saw that, and the rest is history. And Zig was one of those guys. Him and Tip, they were one of those guys early on who was very influential in my life as well, because they kind of introduced to me like the grassroots side, but also like, these two white guys in the middle of the hood. They didn't matter what, Brownsville, Bed-Stuy, Red Hook, they would go anywhere to support any kid. And you got to respect that. Like, you know what I mean?
That's right.
And I was playing with those guys, and it just was one of those things where it just, hit it off, and, the rest was history in high school.
Wow. And we're going to dig a little bit more in there. Listen, for you guys and girls who's on Instagram, come over to YouTube, NYC Basketball Network. And everybody in the room, make sure y'all push that subscribe button. All right? We're going to grow this platform. We're going to everybody join this movement. Come over to NYC Basketball Network. Chuck said, tell him when he came to play the University of Miami, I got a 12-pack of Corona for him.
Tell him, say less.
Got you. Who was like the best player in the neighborhood in Brownsville when you was coming up?
Oh, that's easy. You had Bam. Bam was a good player. Javon Moore.
Yep.
Junie Sanders.
So Junie was the guy because he was like the older guard.
Oh man. Yeah, Junie was the guy. Who else? Man, we had damn, how am I forgetting this guy's name? Holy shit. Excuse my French, but
that's all right.
I'm forgetting one other guy from Brownsville, the projects. Gordon Malone was there.
Got you.
Man, I mean, we had a ton of guys, out of Brownsville.
Listen, Brownsville have a rich tradition in basketball players anyway. When we talked about the Fly Williams, I go on for days, World B. Freeze, the Pearl Washingtons, and so on and so forth. But during that era, you're talking about Junie and Bam and Gordy. And again, and I guarantee you go to Brownsville, there's still more guys that's coming out of Brownsville every day, right? So definitely had a lot of competition coming up, and guys to look forward to playing in the playground.
Right.
Now, with all the great players on your team, what strategies did Coach Majors do to keep you guys together and focus on team goals instead of individual accomplishments?
Listen, and I'm going to say this with all due respect to coach, he couldn't control us. We were a bunch of wild, like we were all, like it was a crazy environment, like, you know, but he couldn't control us, but he can control us, like, you know what I mean? But it was a village, you know, it was a lot of people who came around, who was around, who kind of kept everything, like, you know, Tyrone Sherrod. I don't know if you know Ty.
Yeah.
I was always around, you know, the big homie Don. Don would be around. We had a bunch of dudes, you know, Coach Chadwick, who was one of Major's longtime assistants. He was around all the time. We just had a bunch of dudes that was always around, that kind of, you know, that supported Mage and supported what he was trying to do and supported us as student athletes to kind of keep us together, because it was hard. It was a hard task to keeping us all together. You know, Todd Miles was a fucking handful. You know what I mean? Like, and that's my guy. I love Todd, but you know, he was on an island of his own. But he was a very good player, and the one thing that, you know, he cared for the program, just like all of us. So, but Mage, you know, just to answer your question, Mage did a good job of, you know, almost managing us. You know, not controlling us, but managing us and making sure that we had our individual times and the things that individually made us, you know, be who we were at that time.
It takes a great coach to do that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because things could have really got out of control. Oh. And another thing, like, you guys graduated on you went Division I. Like, that's not easy to do.
Oh yeah.
Half of y'all could have went junior college. At least most of y'all could win junior college. One or two of y'all probably win Division I. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no doubt. You know, and that was and again, like, you know, from the student faculty. I mean, not the student faculty, but the faculty at the high school. They kind of got the big picture too. You know, and they understood, you know, what we had to do and where we were, and you know, and they were very supportive of the program, and they just, you know, made it so that we can have that level of success. And not just me, because I was getting Syracuse and Georgetown and all these guys offering. It was other guys too that probably went low Division I, you know, whatever it was, you know. So again, it was a village over there. It wasn't just one person. It was a village, and I wouldn't. If I had to go back and do it again, I would not change it no bit.
What year would you say that you started coming to your own? Like, what year was like you hit your stride? You was like, you know what? It's on from this point on.
Sophomore year, Pooh. You know, my freshman year, you know, academically, I kind of took a hit, especially early. I was ineligible for pretty much the first half of the season. And then I came back, and then we made a run at the B title and won it at the Garden. My sophomore year is where I really took off. And it was one of those things where we still had Todd, we had Shamel, we had Jamil, we had all those guys, and we made a run at the city title in the A division, and we lost. I think that was the year we lost to Lincoln with Steph.
Yes.
You know,
that was 95.
Booch and all those guys, you know, and it was that year was where I really came into my own and started to get real interest from, you know, high major Division I schools and stuff like that.
Now, let's go back to your freshman year. What were some of the things that you said that got you ineligible? Because this is going to be a lesson for kids right now.
Yeah, you know what? I solely concentrated on basketball and didn't do my homework, didn't do my schoolwork. And, you know, I fell behind. And, you know, it was one of those things when the report cards came out, I flunked. I fell. And it was nobody else's fault but my own. I didn't take school seriously, and you know I paid a big price because I never forget I missed the Super 6 game that we played Simon Gratz.
Woo!
We played Simon back in the days, and they had a crew, and we played it at LIU. It's Robeson's Gratz. It was like and Brooklyn USA ran it, like Ziggy ran the whole deal with Adidas. And it was one of those deals where I couldn't play in the game. And it was so many Division I schools there, coaches in attendance. It was like so much media behind it. And I couldn't play in it. And I'm supposed to be one of the best 8th graders in the country because I didn't take care of my schoolwork.
You know, I had Malcolm Grant on the show, and he talked about going through that same thing, you know, kind of feeling himself just doing all basketball, not focusing on the schoolwork. And when you get focused and once you get that ball back in your hand, you're not letting it go.
Right. No doubt. No doubt. And that was the one thing that I knew. I was like, after that, I knew I had to balance it. You know, take care of school first, because if I ain't take care of school, it don't matter how many hours I practice, I'm not going to be able to show what I can do on the basketball court. You know, high
Facts.
school. So I had to do my work.
Facts. Y'all want to give a shout out to Corey Vice, my guy Flea Adams, who show you was on. Are we live? Of course, Chuck's in the building. We got J.E. in the building. We got Chopping It Up with a 60, whoever that is. Salute to you. Mel Scott, what up? And Kurt Diddy, Robeson Eagle family for life.
Kurt, that's my man.
Yeah.
That's my guy.
No doubt, no doubt. So what games kind of stand out to you, especially during your sophomore year when you was hitting your strides, that you was like, you know what? They gonna get it, whoever this is.
To be honest with you, it was everybody. And the crazy thing is, like, you didn't even have to put the battery in my back. Like, I didn't, when I played, I didn't talk junk. I didn't get into altercations. I just did my job, but I was super focused at what I had to do, and I just went out there and got mine, like, and that was it. Like, so to answer your question, it didn't matter who I was playing against. They were gonna get it.
Listen, brother, when you talk about in the era of like Ron Artest, Markel Mobley, Javon Griffin, Jabbar Smith, Kareem, Mitwick, LeVar Grant, Clinton, Sean Allen, Elliot Strickland, Robert James, Garrett O'Mealy. Can't forget Stephon, who was National Player of the Year, Jamel Thomas, Gerald Hawkins, Clyde Ellis. And what about Rice, who had Gary Saunders, Tariq Kirste, Bevon Robbins, and Chutney Gray? Like, you hear all these names?
That's crazy. It's crazy, bro. It was, you could not duck the smoke. So
right.
You couldn't duck dudes. Like, you were going to play against them one way or the other. If it wasn't on your high school team, it was somewhere in the park, one of those leagues. It was somewhere where you're going. And you know what? Like the one thing I can be honest is that I didn't get the best of everybody I played against. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I got my shit handed to me too, But the one thing I did is that I try to come back stronger and take it out on the next person. Like, you know what I mean? Because Steph was a different dude, man. And me and him, we kind of grew to knowing each other, and he invited me out to go play in his event. Remember his family used to do an event.
Yeah.
And during that summer, I went out there and I played out in that event with him and his fam. So it was it was one of those things where, man, it was crazy, dude. It was crazy.
Like, besides Steph, because Steph is a one-on-one, right? He's a one of one, right?
Right.
A generational talent, and he's become a basketball icon globally, right? So salute to Steph. Who else was a guy that kind of gave y'all fits? Like, let's talk about the guys in the city who, like, when you played against them, there was going to be a long night.
Yeah, you know what? It's crazy. The team is a team that I used to like. I freaking couldn't stand playing against them every year, and it was when we played against St. Anthony's in Jersey every year. Little Rasheem Bruno, and they had Anthony Perry, who was a beast. And me and Anthony became, we grew up in the same time. We went to high school during the same time. We went to college, and we became, almost rivalries, but not really rivalries. But like I would say, those guys at St. Anthony's as a group, as a whole, was one of those situations where I kind of like every time we were about to play them, I shake my head like, God, we got to play these fucking guys again. So like it was one of those things.
They were a generational program.
Oh yeah.
They weren't like these one and done. No, there was a generational program. Coach Bob Perry did a great job with those guys out St. Anthony. They turned out All-Americans every year.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And what's so funny? No disrespect to nobody in the city, but he didn't mention nobody in the city.
Right.
That's how crazy Robeson was. Like, think about that. Like, y'all had that span of that run that y'all had.
Yeah, we were, if I would say this, and this is, no disrespect to Mays, because Mays did the best that he could, and everybody that was affiliated with the program, I think if we were just a little bit more disciplined in terms of what we did every day, especially now being a coach and looking back at it, like if we were just a little bit more disciplined and understood there's a big picture that can be really involved, like we could have been we were a national powerhouse, but we weren't, especially in the media eyes, because we didn't win at that level. We should have went undefeated every year, pretty much, to be honest with you. And no disrespect to the Lincoln team that we lost to, but we were more talented than them from top to bottom. Like, you know what I mean? They had two guys that were difference makers, and the rest we could have matched up evenly with with Bucci, Clyde, and all those guys. You have 530 and you had Steph that were different. But we still had a guy. Todd Miles was a top 50, 60 kid in the country. Shamel Jones was a top 30 guy, 40 guy. Jamil Watkins was a top 40 guy. Myself was a top 50 guy. Like, Phil Grant was a top 75 guy. Like this, I mean, that's not starting five. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so from top to bottom, we had, the talent to, we should have probably lost maybe 2 games our whole career, regardless of who we played, maybe 2 games. That's how much talent we had at Robeson.
Listen, my coach, Bobby Hartstein, one of the greatest minds in high school basketball, that was the other guy y'all was competing against.
Yeah.
Right? When we won the first city championship, we had no all-city players. Right? So I understand now. I couldn't understand it. Like I had Eric Brown on here the other day who went to Boys and Girls. Paul Brown had some of the best players. He had Pearl Washington, Elmer Anderson, Eric Brown, Nestor Payne. He had all of these great players, but couldn't win the city championship. Mm-hmm. So what you're saying now, that you understand as an adult and as a coach, the thing that you need to be a great team.
What?
What would you tell youngsters now who are in that position, who have great teams? What can they do to help their coach and their program become better at what they're doing and set those goals high?
You know what? I would say there's a couple of things. First, you got to have buy-in. Like, you know what I mean? You got to buy into the overall goal, in which the overall goal is winning. That's more important than anything. Everybody want to be known as a winner. And if you don't want to be known as a winner, then you know what? You ain't gonna never win in anything. Like, so winning is the key, and the buy-in is important. 2, sacrifice. Like, you know what I mean? You got to be able to sacrifice. Like now, sometimes sacrifice don't mean, if I have the ability to score 25 points, I don't, I say I'll get 10 points. No, sacrifice is that when you're scoring 25 points a game, but the right play is to get the ball to somebody else at that particular moment, regardless of good, bad, or indifference of the situation, is getting that ball to that other person, so and letting them, maybe have that wide open shot more so than you taking a shot over 2 or 3 people. So I think that's sacrifice. That stuff, and just and being coachable. That part goes into buy-in, but the coachability part and your best players should be the best, the more coachable kids on your team, because they should be the ones that's being coached the hardest, and take that coaching and use it to help you be the best basketball player that you can be. So those are the things that I would say. But I think the number one thing is to buy in. You got to buy into the overall goal, and that's winning. Winning is everything. No one wants to be a loser.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. For all my people that's on Instagram, come over, click the link in my bio. It'll take you right to the show. Click the link in my bio. It'll direct you right to the show. All right. Your guy Kurt Diddy said, "Tell him about practice, AG."
Well, practice, Kurt. Practice was crazy because when you think about it, you got 12 or 13 Division I athletes, and that's not even including the junior high. I mean, the JV team that we had. We had Mo Sherrod, who was like Mo Chips, was probably one of the best young bad boys I've seen ever. He was a dog. You had Mike Sherrod, who was, went to Rutgers, so he was another Division I player. You had Kennedy Adelecki. You had just Division I guys on JV that was get into practice with the varsity, and we had what we had. So it was practice was crazy, man. Like it was. You just, again, there's one of those situations where you could not run from the smoke. The next 5 that was coming up, it was another bad boy on that team. It was another couple bad boys. So you had to bring it every day.
Oh, man. And you had to play for playing time, right? Because you only could play 5 guys at a time.
No doubt. No doubt. You had to play for playing time.
That's so tough.
No, it is.
The only team that I know that had that many Division I players was Coach Ray Haskins. I think in 1981, he had 24 players, and 12 of them went Division I.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. At the same school, right?
Yes, Alexander Hamilton. This is not like we talking about 3 or 4 years. Like, no, he had them all on one team.
One team, yeah. It's crazy.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, we had a great thing going, man. It was a great thing going.
Well, let's talk about that championship run and what it meant to be champions in New York City.
Oh, wow.
And what year was it for you?
So my freshman year, we won the B division. We played against some really good players like Ro Lucky, Ty. I forgot Ty's last name. That played at Automotive. Ty. Oh man, can't get his name. But we played against some really good competition, and that first championship had you hungry to go back because we played at the Garden.
Right.
Grew up in New York City. That's all you want to play. You want to get back to the Garden. You want to be back to get back to the Garden. So it was one of those things where I think the most memorable championship. It was my first one, but the most special one was my last one because I was the leader of that team. And it was, I didn't have Shamel, I didn't have Todd, I didn't have those guys. I had really good players around me with Phil Grant, Kenyatta Brown, Dwayne Archibald. I had really good players around me, but it was my show. It was my team, and I took pride in that. And it was one of those things where it's just a special moment for me.
Who did y'all play against?
We played against Newtown with God rest his soul, Chris Sandy, who was like one of my nemesis, man. He was one of those guys that at the end of the day, he didn't care what I accomplished in my high school career. Every time he came up again, he was trying to give it. Like, it was, even in the press conference for the city championship, he was like very, very confident dude, about his game and who he was, which I respected it a lot, especially looking back on it now. And I'll never forget, like, I could not sleep before the city championship. Could not sleep because all I kept thinking about was that matchup. Like, I can't let this dude get the best of me. Cannot. Now I'm not going to sacrifice, our team from winning a championship. If I'm off, I'm off. I'm gonna try to get everybody the ball that needs to get the ball. But if I'm rolling, I'm going. Yeah, he gonna know that. He gonna know about it. That's probably one of the first games I ever talked smack too in the game. I used to never talk junk to nobody. If you ask anybody who ever played against me, played with me, they used to be like, "Yo, you're a cool dude."
Yeah, the New York City great China Year Van is on here. She said we used to play against each other in Wingate.
Oh,
and definitely rest in peace, Sandy, man. Definitely rest in peace, Chris Sandy, for sure.
Yeah, Sandy was a dog, man. Like, and I feel bad because we became, closer after the fact. Once we got done with high school and stuff like that, and he was playing overseas, so we would see each other. And then when I heard his tragic accident overseas, man, it kind of broke my heart, man. And he was one of the true point guards, man. That was very good growing up, especially for me coming up in New York City.
Well, salute. Paul Scurry said, "Mr. Griffin, how are you, bro?"
Oh, that's my guy. Yeah.
They all coming in showing you love, brother. They coming in and showing you love.
That's awesome. The blast from the past. Che, I said, I'm waiting to get back on her show. That the CBS show, whatever it is, NBC. I don't know which one it was.
She's still moving and shaking. Trust me.
Always, yeah.
Yes. Now, we talking about that recruiting process, right? How was that for you? And what were the schools that was coming after you? And what were your top choices besides Syracuse?
Wow. So I just give you a background about Syracuse first, and then it'll all come, to a head. Syracuse. I used to live across the street from Beetle, Washington. There's Pearl's. So me and Beetle had a relationship before I met Pearl. And Beetle used to see me play on these monkey bars, like right outside, right across the street.
Yeah, please tell me about that. Let's revisit that story, brother. Because listen, I'm gonna keep it real with you. I started on the monkey bars too.
Yeah.
Right.
It was like monkey bars, these silver monkey bars, and we used to have like tournaments in my neighborhood playing on these monkey bars, and we would try to do moves that from what we seen guys on TV do. And Beetle, I don't know how he took a liking. I think he used to look outside his window, and he took a liking to me, and we just kind of hit it off. And he used to always talk about Pearl in Syracuse. But I used to never think nothing of it. I was in my own world. I was trying to figure everything out for myself. So fast forward, I'm in high school. I become all-city guy, All-American, and blah 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 blah, and I get recruited by Oklahoma State, Georgetown, St. John's, obviously Syracuse in the mix, UNLV. I had a bunch of schools, and I originally committed to UNLV out of high school. So, yeah, I committed to UNLV, and I left. People don't realize this, but before the season, I left. My uncle moved out to Vegas. I left Robeson my senior year. The summer of my senior year, the summer before my senior year, I left Brooklyn. I went to Vegas because they started school early. So I was enrolled in Durango High School in the beginning of August of my senior year.
This is news.
Yeah, like a lot of people don't know, but yeah. So I was there for like a month and some change. And I just basically, I kept thinking about Robeson and all my friends that I was going, that I left behind. But the most important part was that I always wanted my visit to Syracuse. But I was
because Beetle put that plan in your mind. Yes.
ready, right? So even committed to UNLV. I committed. I went to the high school coach in Vegas. His name was Al LaRock, who I'm very good friends with now, still to this day. And I said, Coach LaRock, for whatever it's worth, I still want to take a visit to Syracuse. Now, his deal was like, your recruitment is over. You committed to UNLV. Like, no one's, only people that check on you now is UNLV. And I said, like, well, that wasn't I thought I was coming out here, whatever. And I jumped on the red eye, and I came back, and I was enrolled in the Robeson the next day. And my uncle, the UNLV staff, they flew out right behind me. Robeson. Yeah, so we was at Robeson. I never forget, it was a classroom. Mage came in, closed the door. There's a classroom, me, Mage, and it was an Italian lady at my high school named Teresa. And if you went to Robeson, you knew Teresa, especially during that time. And Teresa was in there, and it was, Coach Bano and Coach Shoes from Vegas. And basically we was talking about, the process and what's going on. And if, I just told him, I said, hey, listen, I want to take my visit to Syracuse. And they kind of went out and got another guy, and the rest is history. I called Syracuse. I told them if they still had interest, let's do it. And as soon as I found out they had interest, I committed to Syracuse. Now, Pooh, you got to understand, I never took an official visit to no school, no college, ever. Never took one official visit. Not one.
It all could have went bad.
Yeah, it all could have went bad, Pooh, but also too, ultimately, in the back of my mind, I knew where I wanted to go, where I wanted to be. And that's something that, to a lot of the young kids that's getting recruited now, if you know what's in your heart and what you think about all the time, don't let it pass you up. Take it, because it's you that has to go through that experience, not the guy that's telling you not to go there, or the family member that's telling you not to do this, or your family member that's telling you should go see 3 other schools. If you know deep in your heart where you want to be and what you want to do, you got to, that's on you, because that guy's not going to be in the dorms with you. That guy's not going to be in lecture halls with you. That guy's not going to be in study hall with you or practices with you. You know what I mean? He's going to be on the phone afterwards, but he ain't going to be there with you, and that's what, my advice to a lot of young kids, man. Like, if it's in your heart and it's in your brain, and that's what you want to do, man, you can just take it and do it. And the rest is history. That's when I knew that I wanted to go to Syracuse.
That's an awesome story, fam. I never knew. First of all, besides my people from Robeson that sit here, come on, give me a thumbs up if you knew Alan Griffin left the city and was enrolled at Durango High School in Vegas, right? If I didn't know that, this is like news to me.
A lot of people, I don't even think the Robeson guys knew, because you got to think about it. It was August. They started school probably the first week or second week of August, where we started school in September. So I was back enrolled in Robeson probably the first couple of weeks, maybe. So I don't think a lot of people knew. That wasn't like real close. Like some of those guys, like Kurt Smith, he was young, so he probably wasn't even he didn't even know. But a lot of people didn't, know.
Listen, we're going to blow a tech on the plane right now, brother. We're going to blow a tech. Yo, because I'm saying to myself, hold on. If you would have stayed out in Vegas and played high school in Vegas, just think about that, right? And look, again, you said you held your future in your hand.
What?
You knew in the back of your mind you wanted to visit Syracuse.
Right.
They weren't giving you the option. It was just like they was keeping you hostage. Like, okay, you're going to play your senior year. Don't worry about nothing else. And they thought you committed early. You didn't sign a letter of intent.
No.
It was just a verbal agreement.
Right. Now, I did visit Syracuse unofficially. I came up, I went to a game, and after the game, I went home, like pretty much. You know, it wasn't like an official visit where they wine and dine you. You know what I mean? I went, and it was crazy. I went to a Georgetown Syracuse game, and it was crazy. I sat next to Lawrence Moulton, who was in the NBA.
Yes.
You know, with Vancouver, and it was Allen Iverson's freshman year. You know, against Syracuse with John Wallace and those guys.
Right.
It was a good game. That was after I committed, though. I think, yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Now, have you ever seen Beetle Washington play?
Nah, never saw.
Of course. I figured you would say that because he's too young. Because I didn't see him play. He played way before us.
Right.
Go on YouTube when you get a chance. Type in, and everybody need to do this. Alexander Hamilton versus Ben Franklin. This was the first national televised game on CBS. This is the first national televised game ever. ESPN before all of these channels.
Right.
Alexander Hamilton played against Ben Franklin. Watch, you'll see the great Jerry Ice Reynolds, Andre Irvin, Beetle Washington, Carrie Scurry,
Crew.
and Beetle. You're going to see him zigzagging through the court, and you're going to see why he was, considered one of the greatest point guards ever in New York City.
Right.
For sure. So that's just a little history for you right there. All right, now, you get to Syracuse, right?
Yep.
How was your transition as a freshman? What was your transition like as a freshman on and off the court?
It was tough, because one, they had a sophomore guard here by the name of Jason Hart.
Yeah.
And they had a pretty good team coming back. So, on the basketball court, the first couple of months, I was getting my ass handed to me by Jason. He saw me coming from the city. I was, the city player of the year, blah, 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 blah. He's from Inglewood, California. So, it was one of those things where he took the challenge right to me. It took me a couple months to kind of adjust,
Right.
From a basketball perspective. But then academically, that was the first time I was ever, my second time away from home, but that's the first time where no family was around. It was an adjustment. Yeah.
Now, I always say that this question is very important because I want kids to understand when you go to college, you kind of starting over. You could be the man. You came in highly touted, best in New York City, and now you go to college and you got to start over from scratch.
Right.
Like it's your freshman year in high school.
Right.
Because there's guys out there, they already know your clippings, they already know your height.
Right, for sure.
Right? So all you kids out there, just remember, when you coming into a situation, you coming in, you got to start over. You can't be afraid to start over. You can't be afraid of the smoke.
Right, no doubt.
That's what you signed up for.
Yes, that's what you signed up for, no doubt, definitely. And it's one of those situations where you just, you gotta learn on the fly. The great thing about playing for a legendary coach is that he wasn't very technical in terms of a lot of stuff. He always wanted guys, and even to this day, we recruit guys that know how to play. And if you know how to play, you'll play for coach because he's a very simple coach. He just knows. I think his strongest suit is getting his best players the ball where they're comfortable at and letting them just go out there and play basketball. And that's a huge thing, and that's something that's been very overlooked, especially throughout his career. Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame, but in terms of one of the best to ever do it, some people don't give him that just because they feel that he should have won more national titles. But I'm looking at it like is a bunch of really great coaches that they put high on these pedestals that, probably won one national championship. That shouldn't be the end of all end, or it's just a part. It's a piece, because of what he's done throughout his career. If he didn't win a national championship in 03, he still would have been in the Hall of Fame. Like, you know what I mean? So, but it was great playing for a coach like Coach Boeheim, and playing in those situations, because again, you had to really know how to play basketball to be able to play for him.
I say this about Carmelo Anthony, right? I hate to hear guys go, but he didn't win any championships. And me, I'm that guy to argue. I don't listen. Championships is good, but it don't make or break you as a great player.
Right. Yeah.
Or coach. Right. We talking about both ways.
Right.
The contribution to the game. Contribution to the game. Him giving kids like Pearl Washington, yourself. That's what I look at for me. Right? Without Coach Boeheim taking a chance on city kids and other coaches, because Big Ten schools, think about it. New York City kids don't go to the Big Ten.
Not really.
And to see, right? It's very far and a few, because we do go there, we kind of wind up transferring. And it's no knock to the Big Ten.
Right.
But we talk about the schools who show our kids love and allow them to advance and grow as players.
Right.
So salute to Coach Boeheim. No doubt. That's real dope. Now, as a sophomore, right?
Yeah.
You second the team in 3-pointers. Right? And let's talk about your transition, right? From freshman year to being behind Jason Hart to moving in and, getting your strides in as a sophomore, and then a junior, because those schools constantly bringing in top tier players.
Yeah. So first my transition, like I worked really hard in terms of, one coming in, and I was a decent shooter coming in, but I really had to work, with some of my mechanics in terms of making me a little bit better shooter than I was coming in. So I worked with Mike Hopkins for some time, and that whole summer I dedicated myself to changing a little bit about my form, but also to just my confidence and stuff like that. So doing that, I was able to win the starting spot at the 2, and I played both. When Jay went out, I played some 1, and and I was able to sometimes when he got it rolling, I'll move him off the ball and we'll run him off some screens and see if we can get him going, to keep it going. And it was a fun year. But towards the middle to the back end of that year, I hit a little slump. And basically, I can really say this, especially to a lot of kids out there. I'm always real with myself. I always look in the mirror, regardless of how bad it hurts or whatever. It's one of those things where you have to in order to move on. I took a lot of certain things for granted, and I thought I made it, but also too, I was in the process of having my oldest son too. It was one of those things where, the concentration of basketball, it wasn't solely focused on basketball. I had so many things going on. Having a baby at 18, 19 years old was crazy, especially being a student athlete, So, then my transition from my sophomore and junior year, they brought in Tony Bland. They had a kid, DeSean Williams, from Madison, who was a phenomenal player.
Yep.
And it was one of those things where, those guys were better shooters than me. I'm not gonna lie. They were bigger. DeSean was 6'5", Tony was 6'6", 6'5 and a half, 6'6". So it just was one of those things where they kind of, at this time I got a baby now, you know what I mean? So, and that's not an excuse. You know, I'm not using that as an excuse, but again, my focus wasn't strictly on basketball. So I lost my starting spot, and I didn't play a lot, especially early on as a junior. But, Pooh, I always say this, my junior year was my best year because it helped me fight through so much at a time where I thought that it was over. Like, you know what I mean? And towards the end of that year, like I started to take minutes from DeSean and Tony.
He's gonna come back. This is very important for you young guys. Pay attention to the story, because this is at the stage where most guys quit. Right? Yeah. This is the stage where most guys say they want to transfer.
Yeah.
This is that stage. This is that stride right here. Go ahead. You can finish up.
It's totally that stage, Pooh, and I was in the mix of thinking about that transferring, and I started to talk to, therapists, which a lot of people didn't know, and then I started to talk to Coach Hopkins after practice, and he let me go for a week where he left me alone, and he kind of pulled me in to the office and basically was like, MF, you not quitting. And I was like, I had my hoodie on. It's a little campus. I was down and out. And something just popped into me when I was talking to Coach Hop, and I wrote thank you on the back of all my practice jerseys. And then I wrote thank you on my basketball shoes. And that was something that I wanted Coach to see every day when I ran past him, to show him that he really helped me push myself through a time that I never would have thought that I could have got through, on my own. So, and after that point, transferring was never an option. Like, it was just like, I'm gonna work and I'll beat anybody and everybody that, that was in my way. And then, the team was mine. That senior year was, starting point guard. And I had a really good year.
How important at that level it is to work on your body? Because a lot of guys, from New York City, we don't lift weights. We're not in the gym, far as that conditioning part. How important is that on that level?
Yeah, I learned how important that was, playing against Steph. He was a freak, dude.
Yeah.
And so, so I started to work on my body a little bit there. But, when I got to college, I really kind of bulked up a little bit because, again, when I was a skinnier kid coming out of New York, and Jason Hart was a freak too, working out in terms of, taking care of his body. He was just strong, and I couldn't get past him sometimes. And if I did get past him, he was able to, catch up. And I had to get bigger, faster, and stronger because if I wanted to compete at this level, that's what I had to do.
Hope you're paying attention, Tristan. Talking to my cousin. He's probably not over here, but hopefully he watches later on. Look, I'm a little segue. My little cousin, he's a starting point guard for Jefferson. What I'm telling you, he's the real deal. Tristan Man Davis. Okay. Allen. He'll be having a Carradine dome going crazy. Gets his body together, develop a jump. You'll hear about he's only a sophomore.
Oh, nice.
All right. So just, hope we're not breaking no rules right now, but just
that's why I'm keeping that in mind right now.
There you go. Trust me. He's like the typical New York City guard for us that I can't even explain it because a lot of things he do is natural and he's just unbelievable sometimes. And I say, wow, did he just do that?
Right.
And I just also stress to him, go to the classroom, get your good grades, get your body right. You get that Jimmy going, you're going to be one of the best players in the country. Right. So now, your senior year, what did you do after having the best year of your season, right? The best year of your career, your junior year, to come and bounce back and have an even better year? right? Because that transition from your junior to senior year was a big leap. And what were you able to do your senior year? Average double figures and almost double figure assists.
You know, Pooh, I got bigger, faster, stronger, man. I took basketball really serious. You know, I was like, you know, I got to provide for this young kid, and I got to set myself up so that I can. So you know, I just did everything in my power and put myself in the best situation where I could be successful, and that was mentally, spiritually, all that, Pool. Like I just took life differently at that time, and it really worked out for me.
Yeah, man. Because listen, I always say, man, you know, to do that on one of the biggest stages in college basketball is not an easy feat. And then you're competing against the best players in the country every year, because that's how the major colleges work. That's just what it is, right? So for you to be able to do that and finish at Syracuse on a great note, right? To put yourself in a position to play pro basketball.
Right.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah. So now, you know, you are definitely an example for youngsters that want to play ball and never give up, right? To always persevere through obstacles. So now kids can hear your story and know you work for everything and nothing was given to you.
Right.
You know, this is very important. And I want to just keep reminding our audience of that, because that's the whole goal of this platform, right? Also, to let people hear your story, see your success. We all go through failures, but to bounce back and what you're doing now is simply amazing, brother, for sure.
I appreciate that, Paul.
For sure. Now, before we get into your pro career, can we talk about you coming home, man, and killing St. John's?
Well, yeah, you know, right before that game, you know, so it was three-headed monsters, freshmen that was in the Big East at that time. It was Talik Brown, you know, Andre Barrett, and Omar Cook. They were all-American freshmen, and basically they were given like the best guards in the Big East. You know, those three guys, and they didn't think about guys like myself, Brandon Knight, that was at Pittsburgh. They just kind of gave them the reign. Like, and I'd never forget playing against it was like a newspaper article, and they were talking about, like, by position, who had the best, who was the best, you know, and it came down to point guard position, and they gave it to O. And, you know, in all due respect, O was my guy. So our families grew up together, like we knew each other. We had a mutual respect. And I was walking out of the, you know, right before the game, going to the circle, and Coach pulled my arm, and Coach was like, yo, he said, go kick his ass.
Woo! Hold on, Bayham told you that?
Oh, yeah. Coach was, yeah. All three of those guys, every time I played against one of those guys at that position, he said it. Coach nothing gets past him. Like, you know what I mean? And so we playing, and, you know, I'm not really doing, like, you know, I'm going through, you know, playing my role on the team and getting guys like Preston the ball, DeMone the ball. And next thing you know, something happened where drive the ball, and I kind of, like, he dropped his shoulder, and I try to grab the ball, and I kind of fall, and he lays the ball up, and he get it out of the net. As I'm on the floor, he kind of tossed it to me.
the ultimate disrespect. The ultimate.
So I said, what? That's what we on? And then after that, whoever they put in front of me, I probably fouled every guard out on their team, like every one of them. Fouled out, regulation. Willie Shaw fouled. Like he had Willie. They put all these guys on me. Sharif, I forgot the kid. Sharif Autumn. They try to put him on me. Nah. You know, it was one of those things where I just kind of just took over. And in that game, I think I held a record. I shot 23 free throws in that game.
Yeah.
17 for 23 or 18 for 23 in that game. So yeah, so it was a record at that one point. I don't know if it is now or whatever, but or close.
I watched that game, brother. I was just all smiles. I was all smiles, yelling at the TV, kill him. And then you finish with the New York City point guard, the original New York City point guard. You finished with 31.
Yeah, 31.
You finished with Pearl's number.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah, at the Garden, right?
Oh yeah, that was that before? Yeah, that was before. That was after I had the triple double.
Yep, against Pittsburgh.
Against Pittsburgh, yeah, yeah.
And first of all, fam, okay, 14 points, 11 assists, 10 rebounds. Were you always a great rebounding guard, or was this something that?
I was decent. You know, the one thing that I always like, Coach, you always stressed to me is like get in there and you can get defensive rebounds. He always said that. You know, you're strong enough to go in there. I wanted to make sure I did that. You know.
How did you feel after the game when Coach you saw the stat sheet and it was like, I got a triple double? And let me tell y'all basketball heads already know. A triple-double is not easy to get. I know y'all hear a lot of pros get it, right? We rarely hear college dudes doing it often. It's not easy to do.
But yeah, you know what? It was one of those things where, you know, we were in a situation where we were just trying to win as many basketball games as possible. And I was very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time with, you know, and getting it, you know, so it was a great feeling.
And you're doing it again at the highest level, so it wasn't like you waited to, you know, beat up on a smaller college. It's like, yeah, I'm nice. Nah, not at all. You had O hand you that ball, and you know, you said, you know what, I'm keeping this now.
But no doubt, it was, yeah, that was crazy, man, but. Man, we smiled after the game, and you know it was all competition, and
for sure,
competitive fires and juices going. So yeah,
that's right. And O will be on the show soon, man. He just has some business to take care. He definitely gonna get back. What was your first move after you finished up at Syracuse? What was your first move that you went and did? Did you sit back for a while, or did you went full steam ahead and continue playing basketball?
I went full steam ahead. You know, I worked out for a couple of NBA teams that year. Unfortunately, obviously, you know, I wasn't good enough to, you know, for that next level. I went to Europe. I played one season in Europe. I played on a very good team in Europe too. I got hurt, and right before the EuroLeague championships, you know, they needed to bring in another guy, and so I was, you know, basically cut, and I just said, you know what, I was done with basketball at that time. Done. I felt like I did all I could do, and I felt like I wanted to kind of move on to another phase in my life. I always wanted to coach, and you know, here I am.
Now, before you was at Syracuse, you had stops at St. Francis, right? Which I didn't even know, fam. St. Francis.
Twice. St. Francis twice.
Really? So you went to St. Francis, Providence, Dayton, then went back to St. Francis?
Yep. And then I got the job at Hofstra. And then from Hofstra, I went to Dayton. And from Dayton, I came back to Syracuse.
You know how fortunate you are, fam?
Yeah, it's very.
And I say this in a very humbling way because and this has nothing to do with your skill set and you being able to coach, but it's not easy out here, man.
No.
And for you to be able to do what you do on a consistent basis and find employment at other universities and continue to do that and even scale the ladder and doing it, that's an awesome job, man.
No, I appreciate that, man. I count my blessings all the time. You know, and it's all about the relationships that you built over the years, man. Like, you can't take those things for granted. And you know what? You know, at the end of the day, regardless of how good you are, but, you know, people want to be around good people. You know, you can always work with good people. Sometimes is a good dudes out there that knows what they're doing, you know, from a basketball perspective, that's a hell of a coach, but they're just not a good people, and some people don't want to be around them. So I always, you know, pride myself on being a good dude, you know, and that means the world to me.
What are the main responsibilities of being a really good assistant coach? If you can share that with the audience.
I think to being a real good assistant coach, you have to be a very good recruiter. I mean, because you don't have a job without the Jimmy and Joes. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
The Jimmys and Joes. I like that.
The guys that, you know, but you also got to be flexible in terms of, you got to be able to do your job, but also too, you got to be able to cater to kids that's 18, 19-year-old, and you got to stay fresh.
Very important. You're dropping a lot of jewels, especially for you guys and girls who want to be coaches on the college level.
You gotta keep up with the kids, and your lifeline, regardless of what you want to say or what you want, like, is the Jimmy and Joes. Like, those are the guys that keep your job. If you recruit bad players and you guys have bad players, after 3-4 years you get fired, right? You know what I mean? So you gotta keep it going, but but also too, you know, it's a line that was said to me a long time ago that I never forgot, you know, and I'm not forgetting. You know, kids spell love Time, you know, and you know, when you get these kids on campus, that's not your job is not done, you know, because they're around me more than they're around coach, you know, so you got to give them the time, and you got to be honest too with them. Like, you can't. I try to befriend them, but I also try to be honest with them too at the same time. And sometimes my approach, some people might not like my approach. Some people might like just the rah-rah, yell, scream, God, that's not me. You know what I mean? That will never be me. But you know what? They get the point when I say it, because, you know, it's more than one way to skin a cat. Like, you know what I mean? And that's just, you know, what I feel that's a good analysis, or whatever you want to call it, in terms of being a good assistant coach.
And that's going to make you an even greater head coach one day, brother.
No, I appreciate that, man.
Nah, for sure, for sure. Now, have you ever experienced assistant coaches working harder for their players that they recruit rather than the whole team? Like, how does that work? Because I know a lot of people was caught up in that. I was caught up in that in the situation at college. Myself.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you spend so much time with these guys, especially throughout the recruiting process. So yeah, you kind of getting to that mode of, you want to protect yours, like, you know what I mean. But you know, I work for a guy, Archie Miller, who's the head coach at Rhode Island now. When I was at Dayton. And the one thing that Arch installed in us as a staff is that, you know, it's our guys. It's not your guy. It's our guys. You know, we recruit to the University of Dayton into our program, not your program, not my program. It's our program. And that's how we worked every day. So I use those same values. And, you know, at the end of the day, the cream always rises to the top. It don't matter what somebody try to do, how they try to do it. Like, if you're a bad dude, you're going to be a bad dude. It's just going to come out. Like, you know what I mean? And so I kind of go by that motto. So, but have I experienced, you know, guys being a little bit more territorial over guys that they recruit? Yeah, definitely. It happens. It's a natural. It's natural. Like, you know what I mean? But, you know, you just got to go with it.
Yeah. You know, I tell the story all the time, man. That my first game I started as a sophomore, I took the senior's position, and then the guy who recruited him came in the locker room and told me that he'll make sure I never do that again. You know, and good thing he was only with us 1 year, so
But
you know, that's crazy.
yeah,
That's crazy.
That's nuts.
Yeah. So how are you guys looking for the upcoming year? Like, do you see you guys getting deep into the tournament this year? Like, how you guys looking this year?
No, I think we're gonna be pretty good. You know, we got a young team. We got 6 freshmen and a transfer that we bring in. But we got, you know, we got a senior guard in Joe Girard. We got a sophomore forward in Benny Williams. We have Jesse Edwards, who was a starter. So those 3 guys were started. Basically, two out of the 3 guys were starters for us last year. And we got a local kid, Samir Torrance, who is a senior who played backup and played major minutes for us last year. So we got a good nucleus in terms of the the leadership guys, and then our freshmen are fearless kids that's, you know, since day one, since they stepped on campus, have been competitive, and they compete every practice. So it's been a great going so far. It's been good going so far.
That's awesome. Listen, put this bug in Joe Girard's ear. Been watching him since he was in high school, and you know, I always tell people, yeah, New York City has ball players, but New York State got ball players all over, right?
Yeah.
Because they put the city against the whole state, right? And I tell people, like, we got upstate New York, like we got ball players in Long Island, like all over the state, and I don't think people realize that.
Yeah. Rochester got some great players.
Oh.
Buffalo got great players coming
Troy,
out.
Yep.
Syracuse, Albany, like it's just, I mean, Binghamton, like it's just one of those things where, you know, like you said, it's just it's a state deal. It's not just the city, you know.
And speaking on the city, how has New York City prepared you for success later on in life?
Well, Pooh, you know, New York City has prepared me for later on in life, is because if you can survive there, you can survive anywhere, you know. And I had some rough years, especially growing up, but you know, I was able to survive those. And some of my friends that I've grown up with, that they didn't make it.
That's right.
Yeah, but you know, the one thing that, you know, your true friends is when things are about to happen, or when things are getting, they would say to me, you got to get out of here. You got to go. And that's what they look out for me for. And that's one of those things where, you know, you feel like you had guardian angels on your back the whole time that's protecting you from, you know, harm's way, so to speak. So it's just one of those deals where, you know, it was, you know, New York City is survival of the fittest, man.
That's right.
And if you can survive there, again, you can survive anywhere. And that's been my motto.
If you had one thing to change about your career, what would it be?
Man, I had one thing to change, is my sophomore year, towards the back end of my sophomore year. I wish I would have been strong enough to deal with the distractions that I had going on in my life. Because I could have set myself up, especially for my junior year, regardless of who we brought in. Like, you know what I mean? And it was just one of those things where it's not an excuse. Again, it was what it was. It was just the circumstances that I was dealing with at that time. And you know what? It still prepared me for so many life lessons, you know, from that end of the sophomore year to all the way to my the end of my junior year.
All right, brother. Now we're going to get into the top five. Alan, listen, you've been an amazing guest so far, but now it's time for the hardest part of the show. Hope we don't stump you on any of these. But, brother, you only can name 5. Can't name a sub, can't name 6-man, 2 men off the bench. It got to be 5.
I'm ready.
All right. Top 5 guys you played with.
Ooh, My starting five in high school.
Woo!
He's my top fives: Shamel Jones, Jamil Watkins, Phil Grant, and Ty Miles.
That's real. That's a first right there. That's a first. That's dope. All right. Top 5 guys you played against.
Well, you got Steph Marbury, Kobe Bryant.
Where do you play against Kobe at?
I played him in the AU event. We beat him with Brooklyn USA. We beat him by like 40, but he had almost 60.
Hold on. Another tech on the play, fam. Rest in peace to the great Black Mamba.
Yeah.
Y'all blew his team out by 40?
Yeah, we beat him by like 40. We had like Ed Coder, Shamel, we had Sham God, like we had a crew.
I forgot to mention Sham. That's right. Now listen, players. Oh my God.
So, but let me answer your top 5.
Yeah.
Ed Coder, Sham, Steph, the guys, Kobe, man, who's the 5th guy that I played against? Shit, man, I can't even.
We talking about college and everywhere. We talking about
college.
Yeah. I'm talking about all over. Top 5 guys you played against all over. It don't make a difference.
Oh man. Oh, and Jason Hart.
Got you. Now, playing against Kobe at that time, did you knew like, yeah, he going?
Oh, he's different. He was different from Kobe was different. I didn't know him personally. I didn't, but you can just tell like when he was all business and he was different. You could tell he was different from everybody.
Top 5 arenas you played in.
Carrier Dome, Madison Square Garden, the Barclays Center. Man, like the gym out in Maui was pretty cool too. Like when we played in the Maui Classic.
Yes.
And Pauley Pavilion out in UCLA. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, you rocking through these, brother. You rocking through these. Top 5 players in New York City history from your perspective, nobody else's.
Yeah. Not in order.
Nope.
You got Pearl. You got to go back to like guys like Lindy. And I got to put my Brownsville head in there, Fly.
That's James Fly Williams for all my basketball heads. Yes.
No doubt. How you can't put Kareem in there? Like, you know what I'm saying?
He know his stuff. That's right.
Like, and I'm like one of my, my childhood heroes is Steph. I gotta put him in there. No, and that's no disrespect to Kenny Rod and all those guys, but those are my guys. And maybe you could say the ones that I've seen and I watched.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll probably take Kareem. That's just.
You can't lose with him because he's our GOAT. He's like our GOAT, right?
No doubt.
He's our GOAT. So listen, brother. Yeah. I know you had a long practice, long day. I don't want to keep you too long, but I'm glad, man, you stopped by. It means so much to me, honestly. I had over 300 guests so far, and I still got so many more interviews to put up. So I know you guys been seeing the interview like every day, every other day, because look, it's a lot of people to get to, but this one is special because I watch you come up, man, and I just want to say, brother, I'm so proud of you, man. Keep making us proud, brother.
I appreciate
no doubt. And we're gonna have you back on again once you get that head coaching position after you win another national championship at Syracuse, for sure.
Thanks, bro. I really appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
No doubt.
All
right, peace. Yeah. Listen, this is a special one, right? And I hope you basketball heads out there understand the lessons. No matter what you go through in life, you got to keep persevering. Can't give up. When things get rough, even when you doubt yourself, even when you lose your confidence, even when you lose your position, you have a choice. You could quit, but the strong stay and fight through it and find a way. Like my guy, Alan Griffin, he found a way. So by the time the senior year came, he turned it all the way up. Found himself in position at starting point guard, getting triple doubles, and even coming back home and scorching St. John's for 31 points. You may hit a bump in the road. You may find out, well, my college career is all that I can give. Maybe I'll go overseas. Maybe I'll try the USBL or the NBDL or whatever it is. As long as you give it your best shot. But just know, if you do the right thing and graduate, you'll have life after basketball. And you can always become a professional in something. And that's what it's about. Because all of us are professionals. Just all of us have different occupations. Well, I'm about to wrap it up. I'm glad that you joined us. And by the way, my name is Glenn Pooh Harding, and you've been watching Basketball Heads Live on the NYC Basketball Network. Oh, yeah. We got more merch for you. We got those Basketball Heads hats. Look at that. Look at that. We got them in all colors. You already see the polo shirts. Look at that. Still rocking, baby. We got that merch. $25, cop one. Let everybody know you're official basketball head. I'm one. Are you? We are the official home for New York City basketball. I'm going to throw another one on. Peace.